Welcome in, everybody. This is another episode of the Adam Rothstein Hockey Podcast. And this is episode number 96. And today we are talking more about growing the sport. Over the weekend, if I was playing some puck, tried to do a few things, and I was talking with one of my beer leaguers and asked, this is the hardest sport that there is in the world. You know that. And then they're like, I don't know about that. And this guy played AAA baseball for reference, and he said, yeah, this is pretty hard. And for reference, if he is in a beer league with, a few ex-college players and guys who were at one point maybe on a travel team, and now you're comparing that to to now where you have newcomers coming in, and he's a pretty good defenseman too, for what it's worth, in the world of beer league, but he said, yeah, this is much harder than playing baseball, and 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 that should tell you something. A guy who almost made it to the show in one other sport, um one other sport, he almost made it there, is struggling with this one. And you could say, oh, Adam, that's just age. He's in his 40s or 50s. But no, I mean, even for something like pickup soccer or ultimate frisbee or bowling or something, it's pretty easy to get into. You can get the motions right with that. You can get the mechanics right with that. But with hockey, it's not just the mechanics, it's the shot. It's just knowing where to be. It's also going a certain speed and picking it up and not, faltering. And a lot of people just fall down and not and aren't, that good on their feet in skates. And it's and this is why I also argue that lacrosse is better, because think about it. You've been on your feet since you were maybe even 1 years old. Most of us have, unless you're up in Canada or Finland or wherever. You're you know you're going to be on your toes and your hands, and you're going to learn to crawl, then you're going to learn to walk. And if you can walk and then you learn to run at like maybe 2 or 3 years old, and you run at 2 or 3, just not knowing what you're really doing, but you understand that you can go faster on your feet at that point. And when you get to the age of like 5 or 6, you know how to walk and run, and you do that every day, essentially, or almost every day. And it's just simple to understand, and you learn how to do it better. You learn how to get a little quicker as well. And then when you go play baseball, basketball, or football or lacrosse, you know how to just really run fast, and and you're learning to compete against your classmates or your teammates, and it's good. Jumping on the ice, especially when you're living in an area below the Mason-Dixon line, is tough. You're not getting access to ice time every day. And the fact that Austin Matthews came out of the desert just says something about all of it. Unless your parents are paying, $6,000 a year for you to go on AAA, when you're a teenager, you're not gonna get as much ice time as you would. Now, I think if you were in my situation where you had the Cheetahs, you had the JV team and the varsity team, you're going to get some playing time a little bit in there, and you're going to be able to do it all a little bit more. I don't think I ever skated more than than 5 times in my life, 5 times a week in my life. Out of it, maybe it was 6 at one point, but I always took a day off for rest as well. There was 5 days, certainly during, some hockey camps I went to. Um, Towson, we didn't do maybe we did one time I was on the ice for 6 days, where we had the, freshman recruits, or we did, a late night skate, and even still, I was even doing it 4 times a week, but the majority of your time, you're not gonna be on your feet or your legs, like you traditionally are, and you're walking, and you can walk up to 10,000, 12,000 steps a day. This makes it incredibly hard. It is very unnatural to do backward C cuts, or even, forward C cuts, or just doing C cuts in general and crossing over. You know, in fact, this actually just occurred to me. How many um other sports do you have to cross your feet to either accelerate, or it's actually a part of the play? If you do that in boxing, you're going down. If you do it in basketball, you're falling down. In baseball, it doesn't make sense to do it. Football, good luck. Um, Football, good luck. Absolutely, good luck with that. Volleyball, no. Does it, like, even if you're falling down in volleyball, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't work with that. And these are very unnatural movements as well. Also, you're not backing up as well in hockey. Most sports don't have you, you know, like, going hard back, like, at full speed, skate, like, moving backwards, like 150 feet, like nearly sprinting backwards. You know, you know, maybe there's like some exceptions if you were doing like stunts for track and field, but it's not there as well. So that's another aspect too. It's that you have to train so differently for this as well. In terms of video games, I did want to get to that. Trevor Zegras and Sarah Nurse were on the cover of NHL 23, and this is no disrespect to them, okay? No disrespect to them at all. But it really should be Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And I think, like, you market your stars with this. In 2011, Albert Pujols won the World Series. And then next year he was on the cover of, Big, or whatever the video game cover was for the Nintendo Wii. And that is saying something. Now people were making joke video game covers of Evander Kane as well, and he's on the Oilers. I think he is a little bit more recognizable than Trevor Zegras or Sarah Nurse, because I guess maybe a little bit of his legacy, or maybe just the length of his career rather. And he plays with McDavid and Draisaitl. That helps too. But it should be McDavid or Draisaitl. Put them both on the cover. Because if anything should move, what should move units is your stars, and they're the two best players right now. Or if not, you could argue Matthews or Matthew Tkachuk, as well. But they're two of the best players right now, and they just play so well together. And the fact that they were not on the cover of anything for NHL 23 was just, baffling to me. And Trevor Zegras is not the first person I think about when I think modern day NHL. I think Chucker. I'll even think of Brad Marchand before I think of Trevor Zegras. It's not a disrespect to Trevor Zegras, but I think if you're going to market your stars, you need, market your stars, not, market your, like, it's got to come out of your top 10. It's got to come out of someone who's been recognizable. I even think you could have done, Phil Kessel, comes more to mind than Trevor Zegras, because Phil Kessel has the Iron Man streak, and that sort of works as well. He and I do think that whatever you're going to do, I guess, I get it. You can't put Patrick Kane on the cover of NHL, every single year. It doesn't make sense. But Trevor Zegras is not the person to think about. And Sarah Nurse, I mean, yes, she's done an incredible job for women's hockey since Haley Wickenheiser, but I don't think it just moves units. Okay. I think, you should market with your stars, and Sarah Nurse is not a part of the NHL, and she's a great hockey player in her own respect, but she's not a part of the NHL. This is an NHL game. It's just the way it is. You should get McDavid or Draisaitl on there. And speaking of Draisaitl, there were some people in Germany that were not, who just didn't know who they were. McDavid and Draisaitl, but specifically Draisaitl, they didn't know who he was. And what had happened was, one guy in Berlin knew who he was. And remember, Germany has played in Olympic ice hockey before. They have players that have been in the NHL, like Seidenberg, and you can't, it's like, does this product travel well anymore? And maybe it doesn't, but I think that you should put, Draisaitl or McDavid on the cover, or both. And we see it translated there. So that's another issue with the marketing and as well. And we only really see McDavid or Draisaitl really on the ice, and could they sell shoes like Michael Jordan? No. In hockey culture, we're taught to be humble. We're taught to be respectful. We don't say much unless we're talking on the ice as well. Like we're too humble. We're not good with media. And you need to start. I think you should bring in some professionals of like good communication coaches to actually, so they can actually talk to the media and actually just, be that good personality. I've seen great interviews from Ledecky, Katie Ledecky on, for USA Swimming. You've seen this like there's not like an Allen Iverson moment, like, we're in here talking about practice, and it goes viral on YouTube, and we're still talking about it 15 years later. There's really no movement. There's not movement. There's really like not really much of that moment as well, with maybe the exception of Steven Stamkos and his son, with his little Zamboni thing, toy. But still, no one's going to remember that. They'll remember, I think Steph Curry and his daughter, Ayesha, no, or maybe that's his wife, or his daughter. Like they'll remember that. They'll make Family Guy skits about that, but they're not touching Steven Stamkos. I think like I imagine if Zdeno Chara got on an episode of Family Guy. He has been a staple in Boston for so long. Brady was in an episode. Wade Boggs got in there too on Family Guy, and associate them without being on the ice, and where's the sitcom of people pointing to Draisaitl or McDavid, other than Gretzky on a few occasions. It's there. I can't remember the last episode of Family Guy where I saw Gretzky being referenced. you know, they'll reference Bono, they'll reference, um, geez, they'll reference Paris Hilton and not Shakira, Christina Aguilera. They'll reference her, and if the NHL does want to improve their marketing, they need to like find a way to get these guys getting good with the media and just being able to take questions and just really being a little more personable too. And also, I don't know if their contracts don't allow this, but you need to let them go on TV shows as well. And here's here's another strategy with marketing that they should bring back. There was like commercials for, oh yeah, check out the Wednesday Night Rivalry add-on versus or whatever it was back in the day, or or NHL on NBC. It's like Wednesday Night Rivalry, Penguins Flyers or Penguins Capitals as well with Doc Emmerich and all that stuff. And then there were the commercials. Alex Ovechkin prank called Sidney Crosby. There was an episode of the Sedin twins. There was an episode of, I think, Joe Thornton or Joe Pavelski. And his supposed roommate was, pushing, one button on the video game controller, and he was beating him in that video game of the NHL as well. And or maybe, and then there was another one of, I think, Joe Thornton again, where he was making toast and he burned the toast. And it's like, yeah, you see, these guys are relatable. They're just like you and me. It's just tough. And then there was one commercial where it was this one guy who just could not get in the ice bath. And it's like, you wouldn't make it in the NHL, but you can watch there. I don't think that was the best. But for the most part, those other commercials that I mentioned were personable. They were, on the money. They just did their thing too. They were doing their thing, and also it helped grow the sport as well. It helped grow the sport because they were funny, they were interesting. You could connect with these guys as well, and it did help grow the sport of the National Hockey League as well. So, what do I suggest moving forward for Gary Bettman, other than maybe stepping down? Here's something. You can definitely market in, for that Wednesday night slot. Get back the Wednesday night rivalries again. Get Penguins Flyers in there. Get the Oilers and the Flames in there. Get in the Rangers Bruins. Get in the Rangers Devils. Get in the Bruins Flyers. Get in the Bruins Sabres. I don't give a crap at this point. And you know what? I'll put the E on this just for that. I don't care. But so start by doing the Wednesday night rivalries. Encourage McDavid, Draisaitl, Ovechkin to go on TV shows or whoever, and just say, hey, this guy plays hockey. We should do something other than like having like Mia Khalifa on, and this is why this is going as explicit content. Mia Khalifa should not be the supposed number one, Alex Ovechkin fan, and I guess I don't have any beef with her, but like he should be out in, who should be the face of the NHL? It should be McDavid, and I guess from a legacy standpoint, it should be Ovechkin as well. There's barely any mention of any NHL news on the news during the regular season, and it's like, oh yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights won the cup like with like 12 goals and stuff. Like even that sort of tuned people out as well. If it was Toronto and Edmonton in the finals, you would have so many eyeballs on this because one, you had a team that hasn't won the cup in almost forever, in 3 decades at least, 6 or almost 6 if you're Toronto, and it would have been much better. I've been all over the place with this. It would have been much better with that, and it would have been much easier to market. Now you have to go to the desert. You have to go to the non-traditional hockey markets, and I think even the fact that Vegas won it within 6 years of their start time, it doesn't feel right. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel okay, and maybe that was a bit of a turnoff for some hockey fans as well. And I wouldn't have watched that had I not had this podcast. So I think that does say something about it, and as well. I think putting the NHL on a different network could also work. I don't recall CBS ever having the NHL on. It's been on ABC, it's been on Fox, it's been on TNT now, and True TV, and I don't even know what the fuck that is. And as well, and True TV was not a traditional sports channel. It's reality TV. And I think that was pretty fucking stupid as well. And some of the games were like this is on TNT, this is on True TV, and sometimes they were on both. And then it's like, okay, what channel? And then it's like, oh no, we're moving this game to there. Like your TV markets were not there either. Okay. And that does make it frustrating too. And there's no traditional TV guide magazine or anything like that as well. And I think that is a bit unfortunate. So marketing, I think you need to put this back on the traditional networks. ESPN is getting bought out by Disney, and with those logistics, Disney selling ESPN, clarifying that ESPN is going to sold off by Disney to whoever, are they going to accept the NHL on their network too? That's another issue that you're going to need to do. So I think that the NHL should try and get some airtime on CBS as well. And it used to be on NBC Sports, and maybe it is in some of the local areas, but or whatever their district is, like for Chicago or DC as well. Bally Sports, it's just more, but that's more of a regional thing as well. And now baseball has become more regional as well, but hockey can still go nationally. I definitely see that, because a lot of people have moved, and you can identify with the Rangers more. You can identify with the Sabres or Flyers, because most people who grew up in traditional hockey markets, root for those teams, whether they're in Florida, Arizona, Texas, wherever. So the product can travel nationally. That's not the issue. I think that CBS potentially, trying to get a contract to air some games might actually help, because people know CBS. They don't know True TV. But putting it back on the networks is much better than keeping it on True TV or TNT. TNT, that's basketball territory. That used to be basketball territory. It's not even baseball. Football didn't even come on there. It was just all basketball at one point. I remember that. And it's a shame. So I think that the NHL needs. So let's recap here. NHL needs to, one, get better with its marketing in terms of video games as well. Needs to allow the stars to go on some TV shows as well. They need to do that. At least again, because I haven't seen that really. So they need to do that. They also need to put it on CBS and just figure out what ESPN's doing and try and just if the new owner of ESPN wants to drop the NHL from their network, they will need to jump ship to CBS. Oh my God, this was a lot. I think so. Once again, marketing this product has been tough. It's a tough sport to watch. It is tough with some of the rules, and it's it's hard to play too. And it's not easy. Also, especially when there's marketing issues again. So this has been a weird one as well. So, but I hope you like this. I really hope you like this. And just let me know what you think of this. I will I think that I'll title this like marketing issues and with the NHL. Allow them to go back out on TV shows or just try and coordinate with that. I'm gonna title this with like marketing in the NHL. The NHL has a marketing problem. Yeah, I'll title it that. All right. If you like this episode of the Adam Rothstein Hockey Podcast, please subscribe to the Substack. Also, please rate this podcast. Like this on YouTube. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Write me a little review. And with that being said, take care.